want to talk to you about a couple of interesting statistics I found the other day. The first is that only 1 in 3 people who feel symptoms of depression seek help. The second is that 80% of people who actually seek help for depression show improvements within 5 weeks. So this is a problem, because why are so many people not seeking help for depression when 80% of people show improvements within 5 weeks? And I think a lot of it has to do with the negative stigma and some of the misunderstandings that come with counseling. And so I want to address those in this video with the 5 myths of mental health counseling. The first one is that people think it's not going to help. I think people think I'm different. It's not going to work for me. And I want to tell you, it's depression's job to tell you that you have no future, that things are not going to change, that it's always going to be like this. That's actually a symptom of the depression, and it's very normal to feel like things are not going to get better by seeking help. And part of the therapy process and part of counseling is dealing with that depression that tells you that things are not going to get better. Remember, 80% of those people who seek treatment show improvements within 5 weeks. I think the second myth of counseling is that people think that if they just sweep it under the rug, or they just leave it to deal with for later, that things are going to get better. And I would challenge that by asking, why are you watching this video right now? And more than likely you or someone you love is feeling the symptoms of depression right now. And what I want to tell you is, if you continue doing what you're doing right now, are things going to change? I would ask you, what are your thoughts on seeking out help and trying something different this time around? Because more than likely things are not going to just fade away or get better by ignoring the problem. So we'd encourage you to think about, in the last 2 weeks, has anyone close to you said something like, "Hey, are you okay?" Or, "How you doing recently? You seemed a bit different." More often than not, it's other people speaking to us about the symptoms before we realize the symptoms in ourselves. The third myth we see people talking about is the idea that if I go to counseling, I'm going to be on a pill for the rest of my life. And this couldn't be further from the truth. A lot of therapists, after 6 or 12 months, they'll actually remove the medication to see if the symptoms persist when the medication is removed. Now, a lot of people actually find that when the medication is removed, the symptoms come back, so they opt to actually stay on the medication because it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. Our goal is to help find solutions and to treat the actual problem, and sometimes medication is a part of that. But you're by no means marrying yourself to a pharmaceutical company for the rest of your life by seeking help for your mental health situation right now. I think the fourth myth is the stigma, this myth that it's somehow embarrassing to seek help for mental health problems. We see this a lot in people who, they have some friends or some family that they wouldn't want to admit that they're getting treatment for depression. And I just encourage you to think about it this way. If you break your arm, you would go to the doctor, right? If you're an adult, would you go for a yearly checkup to your GP? Of course you would. And we want to make sure that mental health counseling is the same way. There's no stigma around seeking some checkup in your mental health situation or seeking help for an actual problem. When it comes to confidentiality, we are very, very strict. And, we're not going to tell your friends or your family if something's going on. The exception would be if someone, or if yourself are in physical danger. But apart from that, the confidentiality is very strict, and there's no need to tell anybody unless you want to. So don't let that be stopping you from seeking some help. And the fifth and final myth that we come across with counseling is that people think that talking about the issue is going to be unbearable. And Jeff Young, the owner of Victor Counseling Practice, in his 25 years of experience, he says that the most common feeling after the first session of counseling is actually relief. And the reason is, sometimes people think I couldn't deal with bringing that up again, or I couldn't bear to speak about what I went through. And what they don't realize is that sometimes when you have these negative feelings or thoughts are going on, they're knocking around in your brain, and you actually take the time to pull them out and put them on a table between you and a specialist, there's actual perspective change that goes on. There's an actual, now there's a way to treat the problem and to actually deal with what's going on. And it's a really, really powerful tool. So I encourage you to remember that most people feel relief after their first session in counseling, not a feeling of regret for seeking help. Our goal is to help you become the person that you used to be. So I encourage you, gather your strength, book the first appointment. If you don't like it, you don't have to come back. But let us help you become the person you used to be and see if maybe you're that person that could really benefit from seeking some help.